Hello, my name is Marcia Therese Danzig, and I'm here with my wonderful father, Robert J. Danzig, former president of the Hearst newspapers and vice president of the Hearst Corporation. He has such an amazing story, starting out as a foster child, ending up as the president of Hearst newspapers. And I'd like to ask him some questions about the power of pals. Dad, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story and then talk about the power of pals?
I'm delighted to do that. Of course, I love that wonderful father statement. I feel like taking a big bow, but I'll just kind of respond to your question. One of the consequences of not being rooted as a child is that you rarely have a chance to develop any friends. You're always moving to a different home, you're going to a different school, and therefore there's a vacuum in your life. And I was unaware of that vacuum until there was a time I was living in Troy, New York with a foster family. And it was a 2-story house above a furniture store. And the 3rd story was occupied by a family named Davis. And they had a little boy. They were an African-American family, and he was in the same grade that I was in. His name was Willie. And we used to walk to school together, and he was the first pal I could ever remember. I may have been 9 or 10 years old. And I remember it very well because his mother was always cooking with fat. And so there's a fragrance that kind of drifted through the whole place all the time. When you came home from school, you'd smell that fat frying, and they were always having me up for little treats. And one Saturday morning, I bounded up the stairs from the 2nd-story flat where I was living to the 3rd-story flat, and I knocked on the door and there was no answer. And there was a yellow piece of paper posted on the door, and I went down to the foster mother and I said, "Can you come with me and tell me what that is?" So she walked up and she told me that that was a sheriff's eviction notice, that the family must have been removed from the house the night before. I remember feeling brokenhearted because the first friend I ever remembered was suddenly gone. That made me very conscious of the fact that friends play a critical role in your life. It happens that I had a heart attack in 1984, and my hospital roommate and I shared this room for 30 days. And we became pals. There I was, the president of a big nationwide company. He was a troubleshooter in a foam factory, but we just hit it off. And I was getting all kinds of things sent to me every day, flowers and plants and candies, and we decided to auction those off every day at 4 o'clock to whoever of the nursing staff treated us best. So every day we'd have this drawing for who treated us best, and of course they were competing to be the best treaters. And he and I became pals. And when I left my open heart surgery to go back home, his name was Gene Wald, came to my house every day. He took me for a ride, he took me for an air-cut, he'd take me vegetable shopping, and he became a walker. He had been a handball player, and when he had the heart attack, his doctor told me you have to have a less strenuous exercise. So he became a walker in this 2,400-acre reservation near our home. And all of his other handball player pals came with him, figuring that we're about the same age, and if it was good for him to walk, then they'd walk. And once I developed the ability, it must have taken me 9, 10 months to be able to actually walk with him. I began to show up every Saturday morning at 8:30, and there may be 20 or 30 of us off walking, winter and summer. Our footprints would often be the first footprints in the snow, the fresh snow. And from that group, I developed a handful, maybe 6 or 7 great pals, and they lifted my spirit. And when I moved to Florida, they had all moved to Florida also. And we preserved our rituals. We get together every week. We go to lectures together. We water walk together in a chest-high lane of a swimming pool. And we do many things together that celebrate our palship. That's what we do together. And then when I came to Cape Cod, not knowing a soul except for my wife Diane's cluster of pals, these wonderful, rich friends who buoy each other. They see each other all the time, but every time they're together is like a fresh day. And through them, the ladies, I developed some men pals. So that Cape Cod now comforts me. I call their group of pals a cocoon of caring friends. And now I've got my own little mini cocoon here of these guys I've come to know. On Wednesday mornings here, I have breakfast with a bunch of fellows I've been meeting for 20 years. They're pals, and now I'm one of their pals. What I think happens when you nurture pals is they become anchor points in your life. There's something consistently available through their affection. There's no judgment about you when you're with pals. And I believe everyone should be cultivating new relationships that can grow into becoming pals, that add this dimension of richness to your life that's not based upon anything anybody does for work, what their hobbies may be, what the difference in their home styles may be. No, the richness is just the celebration of being good, rich pals. And you should be ratifying and celebrating and nurturing your own pals every single day.
Thank you. Wonderfully said. So if you'd like to learn more about my father and his work, you can go to his website, www.bobdanzig.com. Thanks so much. Thanks, Dad.
My pleasure.